My name is Brad Frazer. I'm a partner in the Boise law firm Troxel. Our firm was involved in working with the Idaho Technology Council to pass the Cloud Services Clarification Act. By training, I am an intellectual property attorney, not a tax lawyer. But this is the intersection of software and taxation. And so my tax partner, Rick Smith, who actually wrote the legislation, couldn't be with us today. So I am the appointed guy to talk about software and taxation and how this may impact some or all of you here. So let's begin with some general concepts. At a very high level, we're talking about two kinds of tax here. Sales tax, which you're all familiar with, and something called use tax, which you may not be as familiar with. Two kinds of taxes here. In general, we're also talking about two kinds of categories of things, goods and services. In general, goods are things like, obviously, pizzas, shoes, and cars. And in general, in Idaho, you pay sales tax on those things. When you buy a car, the person from whom you buy it collects 6% of that and gives it to the state. Same thing with shoes and pizza. As a general rule, services are not taxable. So when you go to have that car repaired, the car repair doesn't charge you 6% of the bill. They charge you for the parts because those are goods. Not for the services because those are non-taxable. And this is true with respect to both sales and use tax. So these concepts apply to both. However, note that some services are subject to tax, like entertainment services. So when you when you are entertained and it's a service, like I think bowling might be an example, they might charge you sales tax on that. Okay. So again, general concepts: goods, services, sales tax, use tax. Got to go through that just to sort of understand what happens. Now, these are the long, boring definitions of what these two things are, so we're going to skip this slide. But in general, sales tax is imposed on a good at the point of sale. A use tax is imposed on the resident of the state for using something out of the state. That's essentially what it is. Use tax. Residents must pay the use tax on purchases for which no state sales tax had been collected. So you have an obligation to collect and pay use tax on certain types of transactions in the state. Okay, now, under the old Idaho law, here's where we start to run into the problem. Under the old Idaho law, software was considered a good that is taxed. And here are the old statutes. It all relates to the definition of tangible personal property. Right there, that's the problem. See how it used to be defined. It includes any computer software which is not custom computer software. Computer software is deemed to be tangible personal property and thus taxable, regardless of the method by which the title, possession, or right to use the software is transferred to the user. This is the old code before the Cloud Services Clarification Act. Thus, software is subject to both sales and use taxes in Idaho. Why do you care? Well, if you sell software, if you have a software company, you sell software, you have to collect 6% to give it to the state. Alternatively, if you use software, and there's no 6% being collected and paid, you as the user have to collect that money and pay it to the state. So it's a big deal, because I assume everybody in this room either makes or sells or uses software. And if you do, this impacts you, because if you sell it, you have to collect and pay sales tax on it. If you use it, you have to collect and pay use tax on it. It's a general rule. So, however, this worked fine, right, when software was software, back in the old days when software was software. So you may remember jewel cases, an actual media like CD, or some type of medium on which the software was actually given to an end user. So those old constructs of software being considered tangible personal property and thus taxable was fine back in the old days when software was software. Yes?
In your last slide, you had not a custom program. What does that mean?
That means that if you write custom code, you're all is well. Custom code is not tangible personal property.
Custom code, but
custom software.
Sell the custom software.
Same thing. They consider it, if you write custom software and you sell it, they treat it as not tangible personal property, meaning you do not have to collect and remit 6% on the money you make from writing and selling custom code. Custom code.
As opposed to a reseller who takes a package.
That's right. That's exactly right. So this helps most folks who are not writing custom code. The challenge, of course, is arguing about whether it's custom code. I mean, if you take 4 pre-existing packages and slap them together, is that custom code?
Well, so say I'm writing a mobile app.
Right.
And I'm selling it to the marketplace or wherever. That's considered a custom program?
Well, I wouldn't want to opine from the podium on that, but I mean, that's a very important issue, right? If you want to take advantage of that loophole and say, I don't have to pay sales or use tax because this is custom computer programming, we better find out and do some research to see how custom is defined. I mean, if you're literally writing native lines of source code from the ground up, that's clearly custom. But if you're taking, pre-existing kernels and slapping them together and adding a few links, I don't know. So I think I would be careful. All right. So this worked fine with software, right? Here's sort of the key. The old days contemplated a transfer of a degree of control over the actual code. The user received possession in some way of bits and bytes, and it came with a license. Those are important distinctions, right? Back in the old days, someone physically would either download code to their hard drive, or even an applet would be resident on their computer for a short period of time, right? And so this is what caused the problem, because software constructs changed, and then came the cloud. So instead of there actually being a tangible deployment of bits and bytes in some fashion, the cloud changed that. And so we had, back in the old days, remember application service providers, Microsoft, and their whole worldview of having Office available over the internet. Remember that back in, the early 2000s? Somebody remember that. And then they changed the name of it, it became software as a service. And now, of course, we refer to it as cloud deployment. But they're all essentially the same thing. And the issue is the degree over which the end user has control over the code. The degree to which the end user has control over the code. Are you deploying bits and bytes? Are you consuming bits and bytes from some out-of-state person? Those are the issues. And so this tension arose. So we have an old definition of tangible personal property that included software. Because remember, all roads lead, like they lead to Rome, they lead to the definition of tangible personal property. If something is tangible personal property, it's taxed. That's our fundamental premise. It's tangible personal property, it's taxed. Sales and use tax. So we have a definition that included software versus now this new deployment model that's really not software. I mean, as you think of cloud services, do you think of them as software? How many of you actually think of cloud services as software? Good, you should, because they're not. That was sort of our whole point in this exercise. Cloud deployment is by definition not software. And so I'm even encouraging clients not to call, there's my other slide, I'm encouraging clients not to even call it that anymore. Why? Because what's the first S stand for? Is it software? Very good, it's not. So thus, I'm encouraging my clients to adopt the rubric of saying, it's not SaaS, it's cloud. And just don't even go there, okay? So, there's the tension. And this tension existed for a number of software companies. Some of you may know companies who received an audit notice from the State Tax Commission saying, you're a software company, we're going to audit your books and records, you owe 6% of all of your gross revenues for the past 10 years. Now, I know some folks who are sitting in this room who have that experience, and I know some very clever solutions to that, and I'm looking at the guy who had a very clever solution, but if you didn't have a very clever solution, you just say, well, what do we do? You could argue with the State Tax Commission that you don't sell software because you deploy services over the cloud. But what model are they construing your answer through? What lens are they looking at it through? Old code. Code has two meanings here. Code means the statute and it means the code. They're construing it through this old filter, this old lens in which software was tangible personal property. And so a cloud company like, I won't name any names, like a company deploying cloud services says, oh wait, we don't sell software. State Tax Commission says, sorry, our hands are tied. It's tangible personal property, and it is what it is. The State Tax Commission tried to be fair to you guys. They tried. But the Idaho Sales Tax Act had not been amended in a long time. They were dealing with old language. And that's, as you perhaps know, how government agencies work. They are controlled and governed by the words of the statute, just like courts are and lawyers are. And if it doesn't say cloud services are exempted, then it's software, and you've got to pay. So obviously this was a real problem. And in fact, on October 22nd of last year, the State Tax Commission went so far as to promulgate this guidance. It's kind of long, and I know this is a text-rich deck, but there's not much we can do about that when you're talking about tax. So here it is. The State Tax Commission basically says, here, let's go through it at a high level. Sales tax includes digital subscriptions. Use tax includes digital goods. There it is. October 22nd, 2012. Bad news for all of you. Because we can't just arbitrarily say it's cloud, it's not software. The State Tax Commission says, we don't care. If it's cloud, it's software. Pay. But they weren't being mean or bad. They were doing what the state statute said they had to do. And thus rose the need for what we're talking about today. So now we have an old tax code, we have new deployment modalities, we have a tax commission trying to do the right thing, garner revenue for the state. Idaho technology companies are caught in the middle, ready to leave the state. Let me talk about that just for 30 seconds. How hard is it for a cloud-based service provider to pull up shop and move to a state where they don't have sales tax? It's a server, right? It's a server and a cell phone. And so bless their hearts, it was difficult for the legislators to sort of grasp this concept that a cloud-based services company doesn't have to pull up a brick-and-mortar structure, edifice with point-of-sale terminals and a break room and a parking lot. They just move a server across the state lines. So the impact of this was huge because you don't just lose a company, you lose that company's employees, and they're buying cars and pizzas and shoes, all of which do have sales tax. So the impact of this was not lost when we finally made them understand that, hey, wait a minute, these guys will just move. It's not hard because of the cloud-based deployment model. So, thank heavens, the Idaho Technology Council spearheaded this, the Cloud Services Clarification Act. And the point of this was to help the Idaho legislators understand that cloud services are not software, and thus not tangible personal property, and thus not taxable, either sales tax or use tax. All roads lead to tangible personal property. Thus, we began with the definition of tangible personal property. And see, here's to that gentleman's point. See how it's not custom computer program? So if it's not tangible personal property, not taxed, it's all good. But we added this. Tangible personal property now, as of April 9th, Rich, when did you sign it? The 9th? 10th?
Sounds good.
Yeah. Not application software accessed over the internet or through wireless media. That is the language that we came up with after input from, oh my goodness, 20, 30, 40 industry leaders. I mean, Kinetics, Micron, everybody, State Tax Commission, Idaho Technology Council. I won't name names because I'll leave somebody out. But this was well vetted. So if you're complaining about the definition, it's too late. But this is how we chose to define the cloud. So if you sell or use something that's not application software accessed over the internet or through wireless media, or rather something that is, then it will not be tangible personal property. So this is double negatives. I apologize. It's the nature of the beast. You do not want to be tangible personal property, and you want to be, here's the key, you want to sell and use application software accessed over the internet or through wireless media. That's what you want to do. Let me say it again. You want to both sell and use application software accessed over the internet or through wireless media, because if you do, it's not tangible personal property, and thus, say it with me, no tax. You guys are geniuses. That's awesome. Okay, so we also added a provision. Here's the provision we added. That was an amendment. That last thing was just an amendment. We added that little clause right there. But we had to define what application software is. We had to define that. So here's what we did. We defined what kinds of software are not included in the definition of tangible personal property. Entertainment, still taxed. Service also offered as code taxable. Let me talk about that in just a minute. Okay, so here's what we added. Here's the definition of application software. The right to use computer software where the software is accessed over the internet or through wireless media from a location owned or maintained by the seller or an agent of the seller and is not loaded and left at the user's location. The cloud, right? So the cloud, there it is. That's how we chose to word the cloud. The term application software accessed over the internet does not include software if you also leave a copy with the end user. Because the legislators were concerned. They said, well, if somebody sells physical software and they also have cloud deployment, how can you tax one and not the other? You see the conflict there? So this is how they solve the problem. If you do both cloud and you deliver it, then you still have to pay tax. Or if the primary use of the software is for entertainment. So there's the entertainment caveat. So there's no short version other than here it is, read it, and try to hopefully apply it. So we're just about done. Bear with me. Thus, it makes sense for you to conform both your deployment models and your business usage models to conform to the statute. I don't know how else to say it. If you want to avoid sales and use tax on software in Idaho today, it was effective as when the governor signed it. That's big. Normally they wait till July 1. This actually had an emergency clause that made it effective as of the date he signed it. So today, you can make an argument that you should neither pay sales tax on stuff you sell, nor use tax on stuff you consume, as long as you conform to the language of the statute. So if you employ the language of the statute and take care that your outbound and inbound software is not tangible personal property, you should be fine. So to quote Brad, my namesake from Fast Times at Ridgemont High, so we can get the load run here. Oh, there's no audio.
Turn on the laptop audio.
Jesse, can you make it show Cap's audio? Okay.
Hey, can you make the...
Yeah, while we're waiting for the audio. Brad says famously, well, I'm not going to try to do it. Brad does it far better than I do. And it's not Spicoli that reacts. It's actually Eric Stoltz. Did you know that? Most people who ask him to Game of Trivial Pursuit, who reacts when he says that line, they would say Spicoli, right? Sean Penn. It's actually, you see, it's Eric Stoltz. It's fascinating. yeah. We have 30 seconds of questions while Jesse gets the audio work.
So are you doing an online gaming site that we consider entertainment? Is it that?
Online gaming site, primarily for entertainment purposes, I think the answer is probably yeah. Even if it's cloud deployed. Let's see, so how do we answer all these questions? Do we get it, Jesse?
I think so.
Okay, here we go. Let's try it again. All right, here we go. All right, here we go. Where's the cursor?
Is there volume on the laptop?
Sorry. Well, I'll just do it. I'll do it for memory. Ready? Here, I'll narrate. Wait, I'll narrate. Wait, I've done voiceover work. I'm a professional. Watch this. Okay, here we go. Read it, know it, live it, learn it. That's close. And then Eric Stoltz, you see that was Eric Stoltz, not Sean Penn. Did you notice that? So he's pointing to the no shirt, no shoes, no service sign. And he says, read it, know it, live it. Well, that's kind of the point here. The takeaways are to know the new statute. I mean, in 25 minutes, right, I can't give you an exegesis, I love that word, an exegesis and all the permutations, I love that word too, of the ins and outs of cloud-based deployment of entertainment. I can't, right? So my advice is to, a copy of the deck will be made available to you either through me directly or through the Idaho Technology Council. Get a copy of the deck, find the statute, know it, here it is, know it, learn it, live it, and make sure that both your deployment of software and your usage of software conform to the statute. And if you do that, what happens is you will be well positioned. It's on the right deck, here the right slide. There it is. This is kind of the key thing. You can make a good case that you should not have to collect internet sales tax or pay use tax. There it is. We can't bulletproof you from a tax commission audit, but if you're in the software business and you deploy cloud services, my advice is to be familiar with the new Cloud Services Clarification Act. Try to live by it as closely as you can, and then when you get that audit from the State Tax Commission, you can say, oh no, we have complied in full with the Cloud Services Clarification Act. We don't have to collect internet sales tax, nor do we have to pay use tax. All right, 1 minute for questions, please.
What about last year? I mean, is this retroactive at all? So you're still screwed.
Well, have you received an audit notice?
Well, no. But
so then you're fine.
Those that have are still screwed.
If my argument, I believe, Rich probably knows the answer. Rich, go ahead.
I would say that this was positioned to the legislature as a clarification to revitalize the standard for modern times and to ensure consistent application of tax policy. I personally, and I'm not the tax commission, think that the fact that it is a clarification gives you an argument to say that it should be retroactive.
As a very practical matter, here's the outcome of that discussion. State Tax Commission said you have an existing audit notice, right, before April 4th, or whatever the date the governor signed it was. You go to the Tax Commission and say, Cloud Services Clarification Act. They say, not retroactive. You say, okay, I'm taking my server and going to Oregon. You see, I'm not telling you to say that. Hypothetically, if I were negotiating at that point with the State Tax Commission, I might suggest that my business is just a server, a cell phone, and I'll move to Oregon. And I won't be buying pizzas in Idaho anymore. If you see my point. One more question.
How do other states deal with this who do have sales tax, like maybe California?
Yeah. It's a problem, right? It's all over the map because we actually looked at that. And a number of states impose tax on cloud services and they don't care. Other states don't. But what is clear is they all impose tax when there's an actual download of code. So this I know. If there's actual download of bits and bytes, even an applet, they're going to take the position that that's software and you probably have to pay sales tax. So no matter what, if you're going to do cloud deployment, avoid transfer of code such that the end user can somehow manipulate that code. That's bad.
But what if we're not talking about cloud, we're just talking about software that a company is developing and selling? Just software. Is that charged sales tax?
In Idaho, yes. And then in the various states, it will depend. It just depends. Every state has a different answer. I'm sorry, there's no short answer. Frankly, you'll have to look at the state at issue and do some research and say, how do they treat cloud deployment and how do they treat software. It's different almost in all 50 states. It's crazy. But Idaho, thank heavens, thanks to the Idaho Technology Council, they're on the forefront. And we're now leading the way, being one of the very first states to make it very clear that cloud deployment is not subject to either sales or use tax. This is a big deal. Idaho is one of only a handful of states that actually has clarified it to this degree. We should be very proud of our legislators for doing this and making this a much more attractive environment for software, well, cloud services companies. Norris.
Without letting anything out of the bag too early, what's the next battle? What's the next big
Oh.
issue that we need to be worried about or helping with?
Well, probably internet sales tax, which this is not. So to be clear, this is not the internet sales tax mess. That's the whole, does Amazon have to pay sales tax to Idaho because do they have nexus with Idaho? That's a wholly different issue. So Norris, to your point, maybe the internet sales tax issue. Does Idaho want to, by affirmative fiat, as we used to say in debate, affirmative fiat, just waive nexus? Say, all are welcome, children. Reference, please, trivial reference, thank you. Poltergeist, all are welcome, children. Come on, you guys, keep on. Poltergeist, the little lady, she says, all are welcome, children. Idaho doesn't be very welcoming to everybody, even if they have nexus with the state. Idaho could say, come to Idaho, we won't charge sales tax. We're going to forget that there's nexus. So Norris, my guess would be maybe the internet sales tax thing? Maybe, yeah.
So does it matter if your income is generated from an end user versus app-based revenue, or is that going to be under the same application?
Shouldn't matter. I mean, what they're going to look at is, what is the thing that you're selling, and what's the deployment modality. If the end user is paying you money and they're getting some type of control over the code, so there's a transfer, I think they're going to look at it as tangible personal property. Conversely, if it truly is just a service where they log into a portal and manipulate data remotely on a server that you control, I think you make an argument, sort of, unless it's an entertainment service, and then you fall into that different category.
I'm just kind of thinking on if you're generating all of your ad or all of your money based on ad revenue only, and say even if you're letting code be downloaded,
Ad revenue.
yeah.
You're selling advertisements, right? I confess I don't know if they look at selling advertisement as a service. I think it's probably a service, but I guess I confess I don't know. We'll have to look at that. Call me offline if you want to look at that. Yeah.
How does that relate to mobile apps when you are downloading bits and bytes to your phone from an app store?
The statute, you may remember, specifically talks about mobile applications. So you would fall within the purview of the Cloud Services Clarification Act if there's no transfer of code. Very good. Yeah.
I don't want to get too nerdy, but this is Develop.Idaho. Most cloud-based apps download JavaScript.
I know. You're not supposed to even go there because we all know that's true. But and I know exactly what you're saying. But we kind of don't want to go there. Right. That's exactly right. Whoever said she's right. So, that's Rich, turn off the camera. For today, that is our little secret, okay? I mean, I know exactly what you're saying. We're just not going to go there, okay? Good. All right, I have just about a minute left. We'll take just a couple more questions. One here and then one in the back, and then we'll wrap.
What is Idaho considering the point of transaction for the consumers or where it's sold?
For the consumers.
I saw somebody in a state that doesn't have sales tax, have to charge sales tax.
I think that's right. You want to talk to your tax advisor, but I think that's right. Yeah, very good. One more in the back, the gentleman in the hat.
Okay, so if I sell an app, a mobile app, I have to pay tax. If I give the app, but I sell the service, I don't.
No, if you sell an app, and that app physically resides, maybe this goes to your question, maybe I wasn't fully understanding it. If you sell a mobile app and there's a download to that mobile device, that's software, and you have to pay sales tax on it. But if they just access the app remotely from the mobile device over the cloud, and there's no download to the device, I think you could make an argument that's a service, and that's not taxed. It's not perfect, but it is what it is, and it's far better than we used to.
Yeah, I don't know.
So if you
I
want to
saw
sell away your app, it's sell the service to make the app work.
It's an interesting idea. Give away the app that sells the service, so there's no revenue on the app, so they can't track taxable revenue to the app itself. Sure, it's worth a shot. Talk to your tax advisor.
I'm not a lawyer. When I read the first slide you put up there, and you had the caveat, "is not a custom program." To me, that was like, okay, well, any custom software is not taxable. Only if you're a reseller of packaged software, you have to pay tax. That's okay. Maybe I'm.
No, again, remember, it goes to how we construe the word custom. If you write native lines of code, I think you could argue with the tax equation that's custom code.
All software is custom program.
Well,
Well, at some point, maybe at the Bill Gates level, yeah, but
I think you gotta look that I come to you and I want it custom for me as opposed to custom for her.
Oh, I see.
And so that would be custom software, so you're writing that custom software.
Okay,
I'm
so
gonna
custom
purchase
for the
it,
user.
but I'm not gonna pay sales or use tax on that because it's custom software.
there you go. You know, the short answer is, yeah, we're done. The short answer is I really shouldn't opine further on custom. It's going to depend on how the state tax commission construes custom under this new statute, and there may be some revenue rulings or something we can look to for guidance, but for today, the statute's 2 weeks old. So there you go. Live it, know it, learn it, apply it, and avoid tax, and thank you very much for your time.